And hello, everybody, and welcome back to the only single-player podcast for January 25th, 2015. I'm Justin Wessinger, your host, and with me are Reagan Cox and Shauna Beeston, the podcast crew. That's what we're gonna. that's what we're gonna call ourselves now.
Sounds good.
So, per format, our new format here, we're gonna go with on the podcast. We're gonna start every podcast with what we've been playing. So go ahead, guys. What have you been up to?
I've just been playing a little bit of Insurgency, which is kind of like my main multiplayer game, and Smash Bros. I've been playing the new Smash Bros. A lot.
Nice.
On the DS?
No, Wii U.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo.
I need DS players to play with me on this.
I'll play with you.
Yes.
What's your friend code?
Yeah, I'll send you my friend code.
All right. I'm going to destroy you with Link.
Probably.
Just heads up. Link's way too OP.
A little bit. I mostly play Mac just because I like how fast he is.
Oh, yeah, Mac's pretty cool.
Yeah. How about you, Shauna?
I have been trying really hard to play, now I don't even know what it's called, a Human Extinction Simulator.
Yeah.
It was originally supposed to go up as a review, and I couldn't get past the second thing. The second
That game
level.
is hard,
it's
man.
It's absolutely insane. If anybody listening to this has played it, I want to know your opinions or anything, because I just couldn't do it. It's a mixture of me not knowing how to play those type of games and the fact that it was made to be extremely difficult. So
Is it? Can you describe a little bit of the gameplay for me, because I haven't seen any of it?
it's a strategy tactics-based game, kind of like chess with a hex board in space. So
And
you're a
it's, like,
spaceship.
Ridiculously hard.
So,
Yeah.
essentially it's a turn-based strategy.
It's a turn-based strategy game.
And what's unique about it is that... sorry, I'm
No,
taking over
no,
the description.
Yeah. I'm flustered because it's so difficult.
Essentially what it is, like, they're not... It's not like RTSs where you can just, like, have a skirmish. The whole game is like a campaign, and there's different scenarios. And each ship can only attack in a certain, like, area. Like, for example, there's like a squadron of fighters. They can only do a little bit of damage to a group of tiles that's, like, directly in front of them. And you have limited turns for each unit, so you have to position your units strategically, and, like, just so they could hit the enemy, and then the enemy's moving, and the enemy can only shoot in certain directions. It's sort of like she mentioned it was chess. It's sort of like chess. Each chess piece has its own unique set of movements, and it's sort of like that, but in space. And
That reminds me of
so hard.
the old Star Wars X-Wing board game. I don't know if either of you have played that.
I have
Yeah, doesn't it kind of remind you of that?
played everything Star Wars. It does.
I love
It
that
does.
game.
And it's
This is
It's-
just ridiculous, though.
Yeah,
The
it's tough.
tutorial helps you as far as, like, what's going on around you. It doesn't tell you what your ships do. It doesn't tell you how to go about moving them. It'll tell you, if you hover over them, where you can move. But unless you know every single, like, thing about the ships, both enemy and your own, it's
Right.
almost impossible to kind of strategically place yourself.
That sounds like something I would really like, actually.
try it out.
Definitely try it out, and then teach
I
me.
like
'cause
stupidly
I can-
hard games that don't tell you how to play them. I
do too. I love a
Dwarf Fortress.
challenge, but this
Yeah.
was ridiculous. I was like, oh, good. I can learn how to play strategy and tactic games because I'm really bad at them, and this was not the game to do that for.
Try Door Kickers. That's a good strategy tactic. Basically, you're a SWAT team. It's kind of like, did you ever play the old Rainbow Six games?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's basically just the planning phase. It's actually it's more fun than I make it sound, though. But you're a SWAT team, and you plan your attack in this building, and then you just kind of watch it happen in real time. It's really good. It's really fun. And that's probably a good start for strategy games.
Okay. I'm writing that down right now. So I'll do that. But yeah,
Plus,
that's
it's like
that
$10 on Steam, I think. So
and
Nice.
Stranded Deep, but I'll let Justin go into that more.
So
about that
Stranded Deep
stupid
was also we did do a first impressions for Human Extinction Simulator, so be sure to check that out. It was hard. It's like the first mission of the game that I did.
Yeah,
We've
I
had
got to the second mission. I'm like, nope.
we've had a few hard games because You're talking about Stranded Deep, and then that Human Extinction, and then James was talking about how hard Grey Goo was.
Grey Goo's. I haven't played more than the second mission of Grey Goo on easy, but yeah, it like ramps up like super fast.
Huh.
It's
Well,
pretty
that
easy.
between that and his problems, like, didn't he have problems with it crashing or something?
Yeah, he had
I think he had
problems
some
crashing.
optimization problems too.
For some reason, it was really dark for me. Grey Goo. I should add at the top of this. It's something we should talk about. Grey Goo, new real-time strategy game that released this week. It like really, it's like super dark in game for me. Like, not the cutscenes are fine. There's a little like dialogue moment before you start an actual mission, but once you get into the mission, it's just like super dark. Like I could not see, and my gamma was at max. It was max gamma.
Yeah,
for what the
that's
game
weird,
let me.
because if everything was dark, I'd say it was probably gamma or brightness or something, but since
So
it's
yeah,
just the gameplay,
I adjusted the gamma. I tried playing it on both of my monitors. I have two, and then I recorded the first impressions for it, and it's fine on camera. Like it's fine. Like, so I just had to deal with it
that's
when I was
really
recording it.
strange.
But Grey Goo came out. Grey Goo's kind of difficult, so we've been hearing. And then what's it called? Stranded Deep is a new survival game to hit early access. And we talked about early access previously.
Yep.
And it's frustratingness. But Survival Deep is really fun. It's super fun. I like survival games where there aren't zombies.
Right. That's what I was like. Every night
And
I
this
was
is
assuming
actually a survival game.
a zombie was coming up.
So it's really fun. What it is basically, it's like a lot of people compare it to The Forest because you're on a remote island, but there are no cannibals either. So, and it's really different because it's a lot of small islands. Like The Forest is just one big island, sort of like a lost island.
Right.
But this is more like Castaway, where you're stuck on an island with literally like nothing, and you can go to other different islands to get the resources you need. And there's what's really interesting is that way they wanted to make a point of immersion in the game.
Right.
And so there's no menus or anything like that. There's no
Ooh, that's cool.
crafting table. You can only craft if like you have you got a stick, a stone, and a piece of rope on the ground. You can hover over them, and that's when you can craft. So like a lot of the crafting options, a lot of people haven't found yet, because they have to figure it out. There's no, and the wiki's kind of struggling to be updated right now because it did just release like 2 days ago.
And crafting and building are two different things.
You can craft items, but then you have to make a hammer, and then you can build
items,
like
yeah.
shelter. Like you can build a house, like a little hut and everything.
So if you're listening and you have this game, go update the wiki, so we
Go
can
update the wiki.
be less
New-
terrible
yeah.
at it.
Well, they're
'Cause I've
going to
been-
update. I've been doing some research on that too because that's the other game I've been playing after you did your live stream. They're planning on doing more. Sorry, that's my cat. If you can hear the jingling, shut up.
Oh, don't worry about it.
They're trying to update it to where there's more like animals and natural disaster and stuff like that. That would be more realistic. So lizards are coming in and stuff like that. They're
Good.
going to update it to make it really interesting, I think.
I really hope they stick with it. They don't just let it, sit in early access until
I
they're
hope
rich.
so too, because it is actually really good. I really enjoyed it.
It's really fun.
Except
There's no really issues with it. There are some big bugs that kind of ruin certain parts of it, like specifically the raft glitch. You can't take a raft to another island because about halfway the raft disappears and you're stuck in the water.
Actually, that's not true. Well, on my end, that's not true.
You haven't had that problem?
I did not have that problem. This is a day after you played, so they may have patched it. I don't know. I was able to go from island to island to island, no problem. My problem is I save it, and sometimes if I leave the game completely and come back, I'm in the middle of the ocean, and my inventory is empty, and
That's an issue.
I can't. Yeah, you have to restart the game because you cannot progress. The moon isn't rising. It's always nighttime. The moon isn't rising anymore, and no matter where you swim, you're not making progress.
There's another problem real quick. There's
go for
where
it.
there are like shipwrecks and stuff that you can go swimming, you can deep sea dive and like find stuff. And there's some like on the water, like on the surface, like near an islands. And some ships have a hatch on like the top level, and you can open the hatch and go inside the ship. Except then, for those specific kinds of ships, you're stuck in it. Like there's no way to climb out. There's no ladders. There's no climbing feature. So you're stuck inside the ship, and there's literally no way to get out. So that's another reason you will have to start over. But I don't really mind starting over. Like, progress in that game is kind of hard to determine.
Yeah.
Because there's not that much you can do. The crafting options right now are limited because it's early access. So there's not that much stuff to make, and so you can probably a few hours in one session you can probably make everything that's in the game.
Yeah.
That's known.
Yeah.
That's known to be made.
That's what I think a good survival game does. Like this War of Mine, for instance. My first like 3 or 4 runs, I got like an hour or 2 in and just decided to restart. And then because I was playing those beginning sections and kind of figuring everything out, once
Yeah.
I finally got that one run that just clicked, it was really satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that kind of stuff.
That's
But-
how I've been. That's why I've been playing Stranded Deep. I haven't actually made like a full house yet.
I was so
I've
close.
just kept restarting and stuff like that.
I needed a roof, and I would have been done. And then I came back, and I was in the middle of the ocean, and I was like, well, this sucks.
Yeah,
So-
but it's really fun on that.
Oh, yeah,
on
I'm not trying to
small
discourage.
issues.
Definitely play it. I enjoy it greatly.
Yeah, from what you're describing, it sounds like there aren't a whole ton of issues, but the ones that are there are game breaking. If that,
Yeah.
that sounds like
Yeah,
a good.
I've
but
seen-
it's
I've
worth
seen,
it's
like-
worth redoing. It's
Right.
Yeah, it's like not frustrating if you're starting over, because you can probably get to where you were in
no time.
no time. Cause
Right.
yeah, but it's pretty interesting, and there's a first impressions in it, and I'm doing the survival diaries of it now, so there's plenty of videos for you guys watching if you're interested in seeing it. I made a point in the first impressions that you can climb the palm trees and
Yes.
get on top of the palm trees, and not enough games have trees that are climbable. I don't know why that makes me happy, but
That's
it does.
true. The only other one
Especially
I
when
could
you fall
think
out
of
and break your
is
arm.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sounds creative. Yeah.
There is one other thing that I did a bit of research on it because I like Stranded Deep is actually really interesting, and one of the frequently asked questions is if it's going to have an end game content if you're able to get off the islands, and they said eventually yes, but that's not for a long time. So they're going to make an ever progressing game, it seems, which is
Right.
really interesting.
I hope so. This game has had like a lot of development behind it. It's been like worked on for like 2 years or so. I've been reading about it.
Wow.
It was in concept or in development before the Forest. So a lot of people saying, you
Wow.
know, oh, it's just copying the Forest. It's like, well, it was a thing first.
Yeah.
So I think the developers, really are passionate behind this game.
That's good. I hope they stay that way.
So I hope, high hopes for that game. We need good. Well, we talked about how like the zombie survival genre doesn't really. There's not really a good. There's no top mark for that. There's nothing to beat other than DayZ. DayZ's broken. All the hell. And so this game, while there's still a market for this game where there's not really a lot of goods. There are a lot of good survival games, but no like fantastic survival games.
No highly polished games.
No highly, yeah.
There's
nothing,
no Nintendo of survival games. Yet. Or I guess
there's
Valve,
nothing up
maybe.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another kind of genre that's kind of new, kind of just like open world. No instructions, no in-game survival game. And I feel like Stranded Deep can do it really well because right now it's got very little issues. It runs perfectly, and it's just it's working. It's working. That's what we can say about new games.
Yeah.
Except don't try to put
I know,
other
that's kinda
items in
funny.
your raft and take it with you because your raft
That
will
won't work?
sink.
Yeah, the raft will disappear. That's
I
the
was
issue
really
I've
upset
been
about it.
having.
No, it doesn't.
I just stopped using the
disappear.
raft. I just swim everywhere now.
Like I said, I use the raft. The raft does have a little bit of glitching. Like if you're paddling now, instead of it disappearing, it'll just push you off the raft, and you have to fight forever to jump back in before the sharks get you. But yeah, if you try to put any items and take it with you to the next island because your inventory is full, yeah, no, it'll just sink.
Yeah, the sharks are another thing too. They don't. The sharks decide when they want to do damage to you. You can be attacked by your shark and then check your health meter and you're fine. There's nothing happened. That's what happened to me on a few occasions now. But then there's the time where they can just take out half your health just
By looking at you.
from just like bumping into you. So that's while it's probably a glitch that the sharks don't work the right way, that's still something to keep in mind. Like you can totally. I've spent so many times just swimming, and not having issues from sharks. So it's just kind of like a chance,
So my main question before I purchase this game is, Has someone made a mod where it plays the snacker theme from Banjo-Kazooie when the shark shows up yet?
No.
I don't doubt
Okay,
it.
that's
I don't doubt it.
as soon as
I
that
d- I
happens,
don't
I'm
know.
on
Let me-
board. But
I know sharks. A lot of Banjo-Kazooie fans are like terrified of sharks. So this might be an issue for those people,
yeah,
but we'll
That
see.
might be a crippling
I think
factor.
it is. It's actually pretty cheap.
Really?
On Steam right now. I believe it is
7?
15 right now.
that ain't
My
bad.
bad.
So for what it is, it's pretty. That's a pretty good price, I think.
Insurgency. Let me see if Insurgency's still on sale, because if it is, that is my
Yeah. It says
recommended
15
purchase
for
for.
Insurgency too.
Never mind then. It was on sale for $5, and if you could pick that game up for $5, like you need to do that.
So that's what we've been playing. Stranded Deep took up a good bit of our time. I did a live stream on Friday for a while of Stranded Deep, and I haven't played it in that long of a session since, but the little times that I have played it, it absolutely drives you crazy. That game drives you insane because what happened in the stream, right, is that I ran out of resources that I needed on the island I started on. So I needed to go to another island. And so I went to another island, and as soon as I got to the other island, a rainstorm happened. And it got so dark, everything was gray, I couldn't see the island I came from. And so from there it just like de-escalated. It just went
Descended
bad.
into madness.
I never found that first
You never
island
found
again.
the original
I never
island.
found the first island.
And it was always the question: is
I
this
traveled
home base
to
island? And that's
so
where
many
the
islands.
that's where the
home-based
hashtag
island.
came in.
Yeah, hashtag
That's
is this
funny.
home-based island?
Is this
The
home base
answer's
island?
no.
Because he was so determined, and he said it over and over.
I had so many
in
coconuts
sequence.
on that island.
He was like, "Is this home base island? Oh my god, is this home base island? This
I
is
wish
home
I
base
would've
island.
seen
Is this home base?"
I was so determined.
That's funny.
Oh my god!
But
I was like, "Hey, Justin, is this home base
I'll
island?"
include that in the link dump because it's still on our Twitch.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Oh,
about
good.
exporting it and making it into episodes.
Yeah,
Oh, so
like
worth
just a
it.
stream highlight thing. That'd be cool.
So yeah, be sure to check that out. Our stream and check out Stranded Deep. It's pretty fun. Don't play it for too long
Yeah.
because
Get ocean
you'll get
madness.
lost. It's like what I realized about that game is that you can't become attached to islands.
Uh-huh.
Like if you leave an island, don't expect to ever go back to that island. just make a new home.
Yeah, the one time I left, it got foggy and I couldn't see the island. Luckily, I've learned from Justin's mistake
Yeah.
and was like leaving marks for myself, like dropping
That's a good idea.
items
Yeah.
in the same direction that it would be in.
But pretty interesting. That's what we've been playing. Stranded Deep, Insurgency, and Human Extinction Simulator. All links will be in
Never again.
the description. We're gonna try to keep up a link dump for each podcast where I'm just gonna have all the links to pretty much everything we've talked about. Link to Steam pages, links to news articles, stuff like that. So if you're interested in reading up more about stuff we talk about, then it'll be in the description. So there you go. So what we sort of missed last week, we wanted to talk about, but we didn't, is that the Evolve beta is currently happening. For, I believe it's open, right?
Yes.
Is it just open
Yeah.
for Xbox One?
It's, on PC, it's if you own a copy of.
You have to own it, yeah.
No, it's if you own a copy of like BioShock Infinite or Left 4 Dead or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know Left 4 Dead makes sense, but there was one other game that was tangentially
There was
related.
they did that for the alpha. That's how I played it. And people who owned XCOM, Enemy Unknown on Steam, they got into the alpha, and that's how I played it when the alpha was around.
I think
a
it's
few
just
months ago.
2K trying to drum up sales for their old games, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was BioShock or Left 4 Dead, and you could get into the beta on Steam.
So that's on PC and is open on Xbox One, I believe, because friends of
That
mine are
means
playing
I
it.
can do it.
Wasn't Hardline gonna have an open beta on like PC and Xbox and PS4?
They
and all
were
that, too?
supposed to. I don't know when it is. I'm looking it up. But I haven't played Evolve since the alpha, but I had a blast in the alpha.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's weird right now that they're in beta because the game is gold. Like it's done. So
I think what they
so
were wanting to do.
essentially people are playing a demo right now.
Yeah. Because they said that they wanted to not necessarily fix, but change a couple of things.
Well,
but
and
that it's basically
They've added so much though.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And this is a team of ex-Valve employees, so I mean, they seem to be taking Valve's philosophy of it's never done.
I think a big thing it's never done. And no threes.
Yeah.
We'll see Evolve 2, but not 3. I think what they really want to do is that with the beta, I put it in quotes because the game is done.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just want to make sure that the game works on launch day right now. So I guess with their, with the beta the beta's up until launch, and so they're stress testing everything. They don't want people to buy the game, spend half an hour downloading it on release day and then not be able to play it for a few more hours because the servers are broken.
Which I can't applaud enough.
Yeah, I hope other people start adopting that because it's like how many people hype things up and then it all just falls apart.
Yeah, it doesn't work for like a few days.
Yeah, I couldn't play Battlefield 4 for like a week after it
Dang.
first came out. It was ridiculous.
So that's really what I see about that, what they're doing with this.
Yeah.
Price tag for that game though, jeez.
For
which one?
Evolve. I just looked it up. The price tag wise.
Oh yeah, it's 60.
Yep, it's up there.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with the game itself. I do have some problems with their business practices though, and we can talk about that if you want.
Sure. What's on your mind?
Basically, they've already announced DLC for it.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I don't know the details.
So there's this behemoth monster. That is a $15,
that's the fourth monster.
Yeah, $15 DLC that will come out I think a month after launch. That is $15, but
I believe it comes with pre-order though.
You get it for free.
There you go.
Which the whole pushing pre-orders. Dying Light's doing this too. Dying Light, I don't trust Techland at all. I could not possibly trust them less because of all the shenanigans they pulled with the Dead Island trailer. And then now they're pushing pre-orders and delaying physical copy releases and all this weird shit that's going on. So
have you heard about that? The controversy
Yeah.
between like doing pre-orders or not?
Yeah, I wrote.
Yeah.
I wrote an article about Dying Light delaying its physical release because it delayed its physical release, just the physical release, everywhere but the USA, and then they're pushing pre-orders super hard and all this DLC. I cannot humanly trust Techland less than
people are getting against pre-orders nowadays. But
I mean, I think they should be too. There's no reason.
I was about to say.
There's no reason to put money in their pockets for a product on sight unseen.
For something you haven't played.
Right.
Something that, if we've seen most of last year, is something that might not even work day one.
Yeah, no kidding.
So.
And that's why they're pushing the pre-orders. So I think people have wised up and realized the reason they're pushing pre-orders isn't because they want to know their sales figures. It's because they want to pocket that money before people realize it's a broken piece of shit. So, yeah. I'm not a fan of that.
Even in physical pre-orders where you get like the cool figurines and the like with Far Cry, you got the journal.
Yeah, like collector's editions and stuff like that.
Even that is cheap. Like
yeah, it is, and you pay so much money for that. You pay so much money for video games alone. Like $60 for like Evolve is for the amount of time you're probably going to put into it, and like from what I've been hearing about Evolve, I played the alpha a little bit, and I played it by myself. Okay,
right.
And I didn't play it enough, but what I've been hearing from the game, some of the opinions I've been hearing at least, is that if you play it by yourself, if you're not like with friends, then after a while it's not going to be like a different experience. It's not going to be fun because you get paired with people that are on mics or that won't communicate, and then it won't be a good time for anybody.
Right.
But if you're playing with friends, then you can play that game all day, every day. It's super fun.
I gotta say, I hate when people say, "Well, it isn't fun, but it's fun with friends." They did this with Borderlands. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's not fun, but it's fun with friends." You know what else is fun with friends? Pretty much everything. So I don't think that really constitutes a good argument. Like
this,
I don't.
This is the thing that I'm worried about, and they did this with I forgot. It's the campaign. If the campaign is long enough, like the single player campaign mode, if it's long enough, then you don't have to worry about it. But what they've started to do is the campaign's like super short. You can beat it in a day, and then you can go play with your friends.
Yeah, just play multiplayer for the rest of the time.
Yeah, but it's like if you want to play for the campaign, if you don't want to play multiplayer, then...
Single player struggles. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the single player struggle. And so I'm hoping that the campaign, because they said that they were focusing on the campaign a lot for Evolve.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yes, you can
will
play
be
by
long
yourself.
enough, will be worth it, and then should
hope
you
so.
finish it, then play multiplayer or whatever.
Yeah, and I
Or
mean,
like some replay value.
looking at Left 4 Dead, I mean that had good single player. You could play that by yourself, and it's still fun. So
That's
I mean, I
true,
trust
yeah.
them on that front.
Yeah, it seems like that's what I keep comparing it to. At the end of the day, is it's the people who made Left 4 Dead, so it's essentially like a evolution of Left 4 Dead.
Oh,
It's definitely a skilled team that's working on it. So I mean, there's that. And back to like the pre-order culture and all the shady business stuff. That makes me wonder how much of this is developers and how much of it is publishers. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's all publishers, because I'm sure developers have some feedback on it, but I mean, I don't really know. Because if you look at, I'm sure it's different with different things, because if you look at a game like Dying Light, I'm talking out my ass here because I haven't played the game, but if I had to guess, I would say it's probably not functioning as well as it should, or it's not as good as it should. So they talk to the developer, they're like, hey, we got to push this pre-order. Whereas with something with Evolve, I think it's probably more the publisher doing it. So I think it varies probably, if I had to throw out my guess.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems. I mean, it is from what I've played and from what I've heard. Evolve seems to be super fun. I mean,
it looked so good.
the style they're going for. I think they did what they wanted to do with the game. To put it that way, and it's just up to whether or not it'll live. Once it's released.
My question is, with single player mode, the campaign, you can be the medic, the assault. Let's see, what, trapper or tracker,
Yep, trapper.
and
Tra-
support.
I don't know.
So you have 4 people, and from what the developers were talking about, they were like, it's a complete team effort. If one goes down, and you're not able to get them back up, you're going to be hurting. So my question is, how good is the NPC playing in single player mode?
How
So
good
you say
is
I'm
their
playing
AI
assault.
coding?
Will the medic get me up in time? Like, can I
Right.
rely on that as much as I would say multiplayer? That's another concern I have. But I really
I think with that though is that they'll just scale the monster appropriately.
That
And
could
so,
be it, too.
so if you get further into the campaign, then of course you'll have more difficult monsters and maybe more complex teammates. And so I think that's probably the best way they can balance that, is just having very variable AI.
Right.
Because I mean, I didn't have too much problem with that with Left 4 Dead, so I'm not like worried. But it's just
Right, and the whole AI director thing was a unique solution to the problems that AI presented in Left 4 Dead, so I'm sure they'll come up with something.
cool.
Yeah, and well, I mean, everybody seems to be like on board the train for this game.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited for it.
So
I mean, I do have criticisms. From what I've played, it could get very old very fast. I don't see this
that's
being a
what I'm hearing too.
multiplayer game that I play for months on end. But from what I've played, it's fun, it's well produced, it's a good game.
yeah, unless they like stick with it and like build it as it goes, and come up with interesting ways to challenge the players. I can see people just like it's just gonna be like Call of Duty. It's just gonna be, there's nothing new happening. It's everybody's really good at the game. Stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I mean, it
Go ahead.
seems to be going good for them. What I think that's releases in March
Yeah.
or something like that,
thought
and
it's
so
Let me
yeah,
check.
I'm looking it up. Yeah.
February 10th. Is one
February
of them comes out
10th.
in
Soon,
February.
yeah, soon. So we'll see. We'll see then. Actually, how well it does once everyone has their hands on it.
Right.
So I mean, there's not much else to that, I guess.
Nope. That pretty much covers it.
I'm excited for it. I won't be able to play it,
Oh,
but I'm
really?
excited for it. So we talked last week about H1Z1 a little bit, about how crap it is, and how crap everything else in that genre is, and it seems like nothing has really changed with H1Z1. What I find interesting is that literally like 3 days before release, the developers were like, it's not going to be pay to win. It's not going to be pay to win, because we said last time for months and months and months, the developers were like, it's not going to be pay to win. And then even 3 days before its release, it's not going to be pay to win. And it came out, it's pay to win. And they're really sticking with it. Like, they're like, well, this is how we envisioned it, so that's how it's going to be. You know, we'll fix it to where, you know, there'll be less gun drops. There'll be, you know, more of a challenge. You know, it won't be someone getting outgeared and, you know, trumping the server. So it seems like they really want to stick with what's going on in the game, and even so that they offered a full refund to people.
Mm-hmm.
I
Not
heard
through
about
Steam.
that, actually.
Like, you can refund games on Steam, but this is straight through them.
Right.
And they said if you have an issue with the airdrops, you can refund the game, which I don't really agree with that, because people were expecting it not to be pay to win, and now what they're saying is if you don't like it this way, then don't play it. You know, obviously people wanted to play this game. They wanted to play the game they were promised, and it wasn't. And
Yeah, that seems like a really bad, like.
and now they're just kind of
move
copping
on their
out and
end.
saying,
I'm at least glad that they're giving refunds outside of Steam, because on Steam you only get one refund for your account for an entire lifetime. So
That's
it's
right.
good that you don't have to waste it on this.
Yeah, and they were working
I did
with
not
Steam
know
on
that
that,
about
stuff like
Steam.
that.
Yep, you
Yeah,
only
you
get
can-
one refund.
I'm saving mine for a rainy day. I don't imagine
I did
if
not
I'll
know.
ever have to
I've
use it.
never had to, but I did not know that about Steam.
I
That's good to
thought
know.
about using it on Assassin's Creed 4, because when it first launched, I literally couldn't play it. It would crash to my desktop every like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it crashed no matter what you were playing it on.
So I thought about it, but I held on. I held on to it. I still have my refund.
Yeah, I primarily play consoles, so I don't have an issue on big games on my.
I primarily
yeah.
play PC, and the good thing about that, well, I guess it's good. I mean, it works with any console now, is that they will, if there's a patch, you're the first to know it. You're the first to get it.
Yep.
You can fix it and then carry on.
And you can fix it yourself on PC.
This is very true. If you
have
know what you're
coding
doing, you
knowledge,
can fix
at
it
least,
yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, H1Z1, the developers are sticking with it, with this whole method that's been deemed pay to win. But they like I've been reading the developers' Twitter, and you know, following how they had the giveaway and everything, and I've been seeing the Reddit, and it's just like a lot of people getting mad because they said they have addressed the problem, and it doesn't seem to them that it's a problem.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, because I totally agree with everybody else. This is a pay to win. They took back what they said. They're trying to manipulate the situation.
What they're saying now, what they're saying is that the developers are saying, like, everybody's saying it's pay to win, and then the developers have responded by saying, no, it's not. No, we don't think it is. So it's not.
Because it's like any MMO that's free to play. If you buy the right crap, it's pay to win.
Well, see, that's different because the game's free.
Right, I agree, but and the developers aren't like, it's not, pay to win, but to play devil's advocate, just to throw an argument out there, you do not have to buy the crate.
That's true.
You
it
are
seems
also
like,
not promised anything in this crate.
Mm-hmm.
You may not get anything. You may get everything, and then someone may kill you and take your crap. It's all.
But see,
And you
the way
can't. You have to have 100 players on the server even to do it. So it's like.
I get that argument. I get it. Like, I think a lot of people get it, and I think that's the argument the devs are trying to make.
Yeah.
But I don't think they don't realize what's really happening when the crate drops. Okay, I've played the game, and I've seen tons of streams on it, right? Mm-hmm. And basically, what happens when a crate drops is that literally everyone on the server goes for it, and so it may not be the person who paid for it getting all that crap, but someone is getting all that crap, and it's. As soon as one person gets their hand on a really good crate, then there's nothing really stopping them
from getting another one,
from hunting down all the other crates and just killing everybody who goes there. So as soon as you call down a crate, and then you get to it, everyone else in the server is there, so you're not guaranteed it anyway. You're not guaranteed it, but someone's getting it. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest part. Is like there's always going to be someone
now would that, and like I said, playing devil's advocate, I do not agree with this, what they're doing at all. But
Right.
just to say, could it be possible to build, like, in the sense that they're doing this, is kind of interesting that they want to create the dynamic where it's all like Hunger Games. There's a cornucopia. Everybody go for it. Grab what you can. Then after that, there's a skill set that you have to learn, obtain, gain in some way to, if you don't get the gun, to do something else to be able to knock out the guy who does. Like, you could get a whole bunch of people in and hunt him down, or, in a way, it creates a really interesting dynamic to play the game. So I feel like the community, like we said before, the community can create a game out of a really
That's
shit
true.
game. Could make it to work in their benefit, to make it fun in their benefit.
Here's my problem with it from a designer's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think of it as an exchange of resources. So as a designer, when I create this map and create loot spawns and all that, I know what's on the map. I can account for where things are going to be, when they're going to be there, things like that. I can create experiences based around that. Well, when you add this element, you're basically exchanging money to add more resources into the map. It doesn't matter if the person who's paying for it gets it, but you're paying, and I'm assuming there's no limit to loot crates. You could throw down $300 and get a bajillion loot crates in the map, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're adding resources that the designers can't account for into the map, which is just going to break the difficulty curve. It's going to break all kinds of counterplay. It basically breaks every rule of multiplayer game theory there is, as far as I'm aware.
That's how I see it too. Like, Shawnee, you talked about how, where there is a situation that someone's just completely outgeared, then the community in that server can, they can combat it. But that's where the game is sort of fundamentally flawed.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
that you shouldn't design a game. Yeah, you shouldn't have to. Like, you should, like, I just like lost my train of thought, sort of. But like, it's made right now to where if you were to have like an equal balance in the community, in like servers, then people would have to do like what you said, team up and stuff like that. But the designers made it so that it's never going to be balanced, because like what Reagan was saying, that the loot can always change at any moment, at any time, despite what's been placed and how the respawn timers and stuff like that are.
There's actually a term for this in game theory. It's called power creep. And basically it's a big no-no, mostly in MMO design. It's something you really have to watch out for. Where, like, I'm just going to use the MMO example. Say in World of Warcraft, the developers release a new expansion. Well, the people who've been playing are going to have powerful gear and stuff. So what do? They add more powerful gear for those high-level players to get. So then the next expansion rolls around, they add more powerful gear, etc., and the power level of all the players just creeps up and up and up and up, and eventually it's going to hit a ceiling. And then not only are you going to hit a ceiling that makes it boring for those players who've been power creeping, but then you're just widening the gap between the new players and the old players even further. So that's like a big, big no-no in MMO design. So the fact that no designer on this team caught that and was like, hey guys, this might be a bad idea, that kind of worries me.
Yeah, I could see that in this game, because essentially what it is, if you become the person that just gets all the crates, and then there's no point to the game. There's literally no point to the game. If you get a good crate, and then you're well suited to keep people from getting other crates, and you can be like the crate master, then you've beaten the game. Like, there's no point to loot places. All you're going to do is just stay outgeared and hunt other people down, essentially. And so what they did is just made a shortcut in their game to where people don't have to play the game. Which is just like,
so you're paying to not play the game.
And it also broke another rule of game theory. This is just going to turn into Reagan talks about game theory.
That's fine.
Podcast.
Do it.
But
I like game theory, so it's fine.
Yeah, I love reading about stuff. I am studying game design in college, so I just read books about game theory and game design all day. So, but there's another rule of multiplayer game theory called counterplay, which is basically any technique that you design needs to be equally satisfying to use on someone as it is to have used on you. So, like, if you look at that in like League of Legends or something, a lot of the big, cool, powerful attacks, it's fun to watch. It's fun to get it used on you almost as much as it is to use it. And this loot crate fundamentally breaks that rule, because whoever gets that loot crate is going to be having a real good time, and whoever doesn't is not.
Yeah.
I think that applies to most games in that genre too.
Definitely.
Where it's just like you're not gonna have a good time unless you find good loot.
Yep.
Well, you're not gonna have a good time if you do either, because like you said, you've won.
Yeah, then
beat the
you've
game.
won. Yeah, you beat the game.
So it's just not fun. That's the.
It's just not fun.
So don't
overall.
play this game. Just
Yeah, there you go.
get your
There's our
refund.
recommendation.
This is not
Yeah.
worth it anymore.
And sort of in conclusion, I don't want to go on about H1Z1 too much again, but in conclusion, it seems like there was so much hope for this game to be the zombie survival game, and then it just followed flat. Maybe it's just a curse. Like maybe it's never gonna happen with these kind of games. But
I think. Well, actually, never mind, because that's what H1. I was gonna say I think what needs to happen is some big AAA dev needs to come along and polish it up. And I was like,
well, we
shit.
saw what happened
that
there.
was the plan. That was the plan.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a shame. I mean, time will only tell what happens with these games. It's just you can only sigh, I think. Leaving H1Z1 behind, we can talk a little bit about a new release coming out on January 30th called Life is Strange, and it's the first of several games. And it's really I want to talk about it particularly because it's following the Telltale model. It's releasing in episodes, and there's gonna be I think just 5.
By the way, were you about to say it's really strange, and then you stopped yourself because you realized how horrible of a pun that would be?
Yeah, I was trying to.
I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure.
But it's essentially like a graphic adventure, like most Telltale games. There's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of like strategy or anything like that. It's just sort of you playing through a story. And so essentially it's just another like a Telltale-esque game. But it's interesting seeing this kind of model being used because it works so well for Telltale, and now they're doing so many huge projects with it. And so I just wanted to touch on it a little bit because it's interesting. This is just another puzzle piece to how games are evolving right now. And so many new types of games are coming out, different ways to play and stuff like that. And I find it really interesting.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in this game it's more of a act and consequence type game. Like depending on your actions, certain outcomes come of it. It's not one linear story.
I know nothing about this
and
game, so
to my knowledge, it's about a girl who I believe has the ability to time travel, if not take back time. And you just basically go through her life, and reveal her story, her family's story, and I think this other woman that she becomes involved with in some way. I don't know the story too much because, again, it's a story-based game, which is getting a lot of heat, both good and bad. A lot of people are like, oh, well, where's the action? Where's the adventure? This is pointless. I'm really sick of games going this way. And it's like, well, a game is just a story that you play through. Like, that's...
Was it here that we talked about people saying things are or aren't games?
I don't know.
I
don't
can't
think
remember if that was on this podcast or not, or if it was someone else I talked with.
I don't think we covered it too much.
Yeah. I don't like when people do that.
I don't either.
It's just too much. It's too much. It's weird because as much as games have evolved to today, that the not the industry, but like the community, I guess, the gamers community, a lot of people just feel so entitled nowadays.
Right.
Oh my
and
gosh,
then
yeah.
like how are we to say
What is and isn't?
what isn't a game when we don't know? Well, I don't know, squat about making a game, what qualifies as a game. If there are even laws that make a game.
There are, but they're very nebulous. So, like, if you study game design in college, the first course you take, basically the first 2 lectures you have will just be about what a game is. Because there's so many different definitions from so many different esteemed authors. And it's such a nebulous thing that I just kind of tuned out. I was like, whatever, fuck it. If someone wants to say something is a game, I don't care. It's a game. Like,
If I play it, it's a game. That's
Right. I mean, to me,
Right.
the definition of a game is just something you interact with, whether it's a video game or just a game. Just something you interact with can be considered a game. I mean, I guess picking up my coffee cup, I wouldn't really consider that a game. But this is why it's so damn nebulous, is because you get into all this theoretical shit, and then
life is a game.
All games are games.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. There you go.
But Life is Strange on January 30th, episode 1. If you're interested,
It's looking good.
it's looking pretty good.
Who's developing it? Do you know?
Square Enix.
Square
is
Enix
publishing
and
it.
don't. Oh crap! I had this.
Hang on. I just had the wiki up. Like I just exited out of it. Yeah, Square Enix is taking the lead on that, and Don't Nod Entertainment.
Don't nod. Thank you.
Yeah, Don't Nod.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, so I mean, it right now from what the game looks like, it looks exactly like a Telltale game. Just with its own stuff.
Right.
And so it's interesting that we see something other than a Telltale game, following this model, and there seems to be a good bit of heat behind it. So
Yeah.
we will only see when it releases.
Cool.
Another big release coming out a day before Life is Strange is on the 29th is the Metroid Prime Trilogy, releasing again because it did release on the Wii, all 3 games in one bundle, and now it's on the Wii U. It's coming to the Wii U eShop, and you guys were saying it's there's a hard copy.
Yep.
There is, but it's almost impossible to find because Nintendo printed a very, very limited amount of them, and I'm not sure why, but they just kind of stopped printing them. So even when it first came out, it was really hard to find. Now, like the cheapest you can probably get one for is like $120. So the fact that it's getting a digital release is very awesome.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sort of excited to see how specifically the control scheme works.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 Metroid Primes came out on GameCube, and then the third one, Corruption, was on Wii, and it utilized the motion controls basically to aim and stuff like that. And it was nunchuck and Wiimote, I believe.
Yeah. Have you played Prime 3 at all?
I've beaten Prime. That's my most played of the series.
The trilogy just takes the first 2 and gives it the third one's controls. That's really all it does.
Oh, okay.
It pretty much just straight transfers it onto the first 2. And I don't know, I thought it worked pretty well, so
I didn't have an issue with the motion controls. It's basically like you use the Wiimote to point and shoot and stuff like that, and using the nunchuck to move.
And it's got the lock on, so it never becomes cumbersome or anything. It works well.
But even with that, I wonder how if the Wii tablet thing, if the gamepad even like makes a difference, like if anything is gonna be on the gamepad, you know what I mean?
It won't, because the way like Wii games work on the Wii U is you actually launch it from a software emulated Wii menu, so it basically emulates like the menu of the Wii. So the gamepad,
I got you.
The gamepad shuts off after you launch it from the Wii menu.
But it's definitely interesting. Those are one of my favorite games of all time because I had my gaming history is kind of weird because it's kind of selective. And so I had when I was younger, of course, I started on a PlayStation, then I had a GameCube, and Prime was probably the biggest game I had played on the GameCube, apart from like the Nintendo games and stuff like that. Wind Waker, oh god.
Yeah, I need to get the HD version.
Sailing simulator.
Yes.
But then I moved to PlayStation 2, and then I got a Wii, and then the Wii fell short for me, and then I got Xbox. And so Prime was like a big deal for me.
Right.
And I played all 3 of them.
Yeah, I remember my dad was the one who picked up Prime, and at the time I was pretty young. I wasn't like super young. I think it was. When did that game come out?
Oh man, hang on.
I can't remember the year.
I can't either. I'm looking it up for you.
Right.
2002.
2002. Oh yeah,
for
so I was
Metroid
like,
Prime.
I was like 9. So my dad.
I was even
play
younger.
It. My dad would. Yes, you are. My dad would play it, like during the day, and then at night when he was asleep, I would play it. So and I had no idea what I was doing. So he'd wake up and be like, "How the hell did I get here, and why do I have no health?" I did the same thing. I did the same thing with Majora's Mask on the N64 because he would actually play the game, and then I would just mess around with the masks while he was asleep. So he'd wake up and just be in some completely different place, and yeah.
But it was interesting for me because, being young, being young and playing video games all the time, I didn't have a problem with beating games. Mm-hmm. That was always my thing. I beat every single game I've ever played, and I've to this day I've never beaten the first Metroid Prime. I've beaten 2, and I've beaten 3 a lot, Corruption and Echoes, because Metroid is not difficult,
right?
But they present a lot of challenges.
They do,
and being very very young, it was a different experience, Metroid Prime for me.
Yeah, I mean, trying to 100% Super Metroid almost killed me. God, so yeah. I totally get it.
But I'm glad they're doing this, releasing on the Wii U, just to keep it fresh in everybody's mind. Because I feel like this is just a dream. This isn't what's happening. This is what I'm dreaming. Is that they're trying to keep Metroid fresh because there's a new one coming.
There are 2 new ones coming, actually.
2 new ones.
There's one
confirmed.
Yeah, they confirmed. Well, it's kind of, they haven't super confirmed it. I don't know what that even means. I just made up a sentence.
No, I understand.
But they said there's 2 coming. One on the 3DS, one on the Wii U, and one is going to be classic side-scrolling Super Metroid style, and one's going to be Prime style. So if I had to guess, I'd say the 3DS one's going to be the side-scroller, and the Wii U one's going to be the Prime one. So yeah,
that's hopeful. We talked last time about Nintendo a good bit and how they're living on their exclusives, and
yep.
Metroid and Star Fox have been the ones that have kind of not been kind of falling short behind Zelda and Mario, yep. And they've done really well in the past. And
actually, something interesting that a lot of people don't know: Metroid games sell horridly.
Really?
Yeah, Metroid games do not sell. Metroid, it was just about the time it was released. So the Famicom Disk System had just come out in Japan, and so they released it for that, and nobody bought the Famicom Disk System, so it didn't do well in Japan. It did all right in America. Then Super Metroid came out, nobody bought it. Then that's why they skipped the N64. And then
I think it's another thing where Metroid doesn't really fit in with all the other Nintendo exclusives at all. Metroid's way darker and just a completely different game, and I think that's why it stood out when it was on NES and stuff like that, because it was just nothing was not expected from Nintendo at all.
But the first Metroid Prime game is the only game that's even sold remotely well. So yeah,
which is so weird because they are so well
oh yeah,
so well done. Everybody loves them. They get high scores across the board. All three of them are fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they just come out and nobody buys them. I don't know what it is.
It's so unfortunate.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But hopefully people buy them this time around because it's definitely a good buy.
Yes.
Absolutely must recommend those games.
Yep. I believe Super Metroid's on the Virtual Console as well, so
I think it is too.
Do it.
Yeah. Do it.
Yep.
And with that, it's interesting to me. I can see why they did it. We're going to talk about a little bit about re-releases because it's something that has become a trend almost instantly, I think. And it came with the new consoles being released.
Yep.
It all began with The Last of Us, I think. I want to start with there. Because Last of Us came out in 2013 on PlayStation 3. PlayStation 4 comes out. They release it the year after for PlayStation 4. And it's essentially the same game. It's the same game, just upped, resolution and stuff like that.
Right.
And not a lot of people had a problem with it, with paying the same price for a game they already own, because it was such a good game. Last of Us is fantastic. I would have.
I'm gonna get crucified, but I don't like The Last of Us.
You don't?
Nope, not a fan. I know, right?
I don't even own a PlayStation, and I loved it.
I don't like BioShock Infinite either.
You don't like BioShock? I had issues with Infinite. I like
I love the BioShock series. Infinite's not my favorite.
I don't like 2 either. I like the Minerva's Den DLC because it was done by Steve Gaynor, who is now the head of Fulbright, who made Gone Home. So it's got lots of really good environmental storytelling.
Yeah. The first Bioshock's the best.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
That we can table that discussion.
Yep.
Yes.
But so Last of Us re-released. You don't like it for whatever reason. I don't
No, I
care.
don't.
It's a fantastic.
We don't care
game.
about your opinion. Or
It's a fantastic game, whether you like it or not.
I don't know. Any game that makes me cry within 15 minutes, I really can't play the rest of it. So
I could see that. But it a lot of people liked it and did so well, and so the re-release didn't really bother anybody. I don't know when it happened. Let me look it up real quick. Another example that I want to compare Last of Us to is Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time re-released for Nintendo 3DS. I don't know what year they re-released that.
I want to say like
12.
I want to say,
12,
really? You
maybe?
think it's 11?
maybe
I
12.
thought it was 12.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was
it's
12 or
probably
13.
I don't think
Um,
it's 13. I'm pretty sure it was 11
don't think
or
it's 13?
12. Probably 12.
I'm looking. Well, okay.
Yeah,
so
look
let's
it
just
up.
assume. I'm looking right now, but
All right,
I'm
cool.
gonna talk as well. So Ocarina of Time re-released. Ocarina of Time originally released in 1998 for N64, and so seeing that game again now is awesome. But I remember specifically, there were a few people that didn't want it, that were not happy that it was coming to 3DS, and I was like, "What? How can you not be happy? It's Ocarina of Time, arguably the best game of all time."
The best, yeah. Legend of Zelda, Jesus.
So I think it just came. That was probably Ocarina started the trend, but Ocarina came out. Has come out almost a decade and a half after it released originally. And the way I see that, I'm okay with Ocarina of Time re-releasing, but I'm not okay with Last of Us re-releasing. And that is because Ocarina of Time sort of is so old that new gamers probably may have never even heard of it.
Right.
And so it re-releasing is giving those people a chance to play it because it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, and
it coming back into the limelight again. And,
Yeah,
it's
I actually
so good.
personally have a story about that. So I had a friend who wasn't really into video games, and she got a 3DS, and so I was trying to get her into games, and she couldn't do older games because they didn't look as good and they didn't control as well, so she just couldn't get into it. So I got her Ocarina of Time 3D, and that was the game. That was like the first game that she like really fell in love with, and that got her into games. So I mean, I personally have good experience with that. So I mean, yeah, I definitely like it. And the other reason I like it is because they actually updated the game. The Last of Us is the same game, but Ocarina of Time 3D, they really changed. They completely redid all the animations. They completely updated the graphics. It's not the exact same game.
And that's
Go ahead, sorry.
And that's another point. Well, actually, you go ahead because I'm moving on with that.
And one more thing, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on Ocarina starting the trend. I think it was Metal Gear Solid HD Collection that started.
Oh,
because
I guess so.
Then you got all the other HD collections,
That's
and
true.
then you got Anyway.
Well, you'll see. You go ahead, Shauna.
Just a personal experience is I think I was 11 when I was able to play Ocarina of Time on the N64, and I'm gonna get so much shit. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I was so young. Like do it.
It's no, you good. It's a game you gotta commit to. I think.
Yeah, I was
issues.
doing the Donkey Kong 64, and I had the Marios and all of that, and I love Legend of Zelda. It's the first game I've ever played. When I was like 3, my grandpa and I would play it, and this one just wasn't it for me, and I couldn't get into it. And then as my older self was like, you know what, let's get this another try. I don't have my N64 anymore. I had the 3DS. And I played it, and I beat it. It was, such a great experience, and now I can say it's one of my favorites. So it gave me an opportunity I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, it's a really good game, and I really do like it, but I don't begrudge anyone who doesn't. You can't get into it. Because there are definitely some issues that someone who, isn't used to gaming or can't look past some certain things. The controls are not particularly great.
No.
And there's a lot of waiting. You do a lot of waiting around. Like, a lot of enemies' weaknesses, you have to sit there and wait for them to do something, and then you have to wait to do this and wait to do... There's a lot of waiting
backtracking,
involved.
too.
Yeah. So I personally like it. I think it's a great game, but I don't hold it against anyone who disagrees.
Right. And so, while, it's obviously an amazing thing that Ocarina came to 3DS, and then Last of Us got re-released, and then a few other games kind of followed up with Last of Us. GTA 5 re-released last year for the next gen consoles. GTA 5 was sort of in the same position Last of Us was. It released in 2013 for Xbox 360 and PS3, and now they re-released it for, of course, next gen, and of course the PC version is coming in March after being delayed again.
Probably not, though.
Yeah, it'll probably it'll be delayed into oblivion. So
Yep.
let's just not even worry about it right now.
But I don't have a problem with GTA 5 so much because they updated it. They changed it as well.
They did so much. Not only are the graphics much better, they're noticeably improved. The graphics, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But they added a lot of single player content.
Yep.
You know, more missions, more vehicles, more everything. You can become like an eagle in something. There's like you can like take some shrooms or something and like turn into an animal. That's one of the new side missions.
First person mode.
First person mode,
All kinds of
huge.
stuff.
So they obviously, you know, it's almost like, I want to say like it's an expansion.
Yeah, they added to it. They
added to it.
They didn't
And
just
so-
port it. Whereas
so
The Last of Us was just a port.
Right. Last of Us was just a port. So I'm okay paying the same price for a game I already own for a new console if it's, you know, a new experience.
Right.
And so that's why I'm okay with GTA, but not okay with Last of Us. While Last of Us is an amazing game to most people, you know, it's the same thing on PlayStation 4. It's the same experience.
The only significant change it made was 60 FPS, which I will grant that is a significant change, but it's not a $60 change.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
And now they announced a few months ago Majora's Mask is coming to 3DS as well.
Which I'm super hyped about.
Super hyped. Everybody, I'm super hyped too.
Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game. So.
Yeah, I like Majora's Mask a lot too.
Yeah.
And so, while they may not add anything to the game, they'll definitely, you know, it'll be improved. It'll be up to specs with 3DS and stuff like that.
It's the same as Ocarina of Time. Completely improved animations,
Right.
redone animations, redone character models. It's a new game essentially.
Yep. And that's why I sort of approve of older games being re-released in such a manner.
Yep.
But
So
we already
something. Go ahead.
and so other things sort of taking the hint from Last of Us coming to next gen without, it's just a port. I believe Borderlands was being talked about to be ported.
Yeah.
Yes, they're
Borderlands 1 and 2, and I think the pre-sequel are coming to.
No, the weird
Next
thing is,
gen.
I don't think they're doing Borderlands 1. They're just doing Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel, which makes no sense.
That's strange.
That's odd.
Now, don't
But,
quote me on that. I'm just pretty sure that's how that is.
Yeah.
But so
And
yeah,
now you can get a remote-controlled claptrap, so he can annoy the shit out of you in real life.
No, you
as much
can't!
as he
It's sold
can in the game.
out! I'm so mad. You can't get it anymore.
oh really? It's sold out already. That's funny.
This is going to be the podcast where I make everyone hate me, because I can't stand Borderlands either.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
I can
hate
understand that.
Borderlands.
I don't hate it, but I can totally understand.
So, I just find it really boring and juvenile. I don't know.
I love Borderlands. I'm all about story, though, and it's just got a ridiculous, cool
Yeah.
story. You have to look. It's something that you have to look for, though. It's not just going to outright tell you. So you have to work
Right.
for it. And sometimes
like
it's not
that.
worth it.
I like when games don't like shove a story in your. Like one of my favorite games is Shadow of the Colossus, just because that game has no story except for the story you make it have, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think yeah. I feel like Borderlands kind of takes that. Like for me, and for what I believe makes a good game is always going to come down to gameplay.
Yeah,
For
I
me,
100%
that's the
agree.
number one thing. That's why Destiny's still alive, is because the gameplay is so fantastic. Otherwise, all of Destiny's problems would be, you know, falling in on itself. I don't want to talk about Destiny. I've talked about Destiny enough in my life, and that's why I think Borderlands kind of comes. Borderlands gameplay is really good, whether it's the story, you know, makes sense or doesn't, or it's just like goofy stuff like that, and really takes the cake. But it being ported on the next gen console, I don't think I'm going to need to spend another $60.
No, I
just to
agree. It
play that
should
again.
not. I agree with that. That's ridiculous.
And plus, I mean, it's been ported to Vita already, so this is like the second time they've ported it to new consoles. So say, like, if you're a big Borderlands fan, you're gonna have paid like upwards of $200 to play this game.
Yeah, the same game you've already played, like I'm sure a lot of times. Like for me, I played Borderlands. My friend and I, we played Borderlands so much, like so many different playthroughs. Because with Borderlands, you can play it over on a harder difficulty and continue leveling. And it got to the point where my friend and I, we never played together. Well, we did play together, but when we didn't, we would like grind out a separate character through split screen. It's pretty funny how we did it. We went to like the last area of the map with our high level character and just like kill things, because the way it worked in co-op is that it's like shared experience. So we would boot up a second controller and then just let it sit there at the beginning of the area and just have our main character just go through and kill everything. And you level up like 30 times. It's awesome.
That's funny.
Something to do whenever you go play. I'm sure they've patched it by now. I don't know, but
nope, they haven't.
Really?
The XP system works the same, so I'm assuming you can still do it.
Probably, but so I played a lot of Borderlands, but I'm not gonna, and I'm sure people who are into Borderlands, like you said, Borderlands fans, they played it a lot already.
Yeah.
So I really hope this doesn't become a thing for most games that coming out, on
They
a
just
lot of
need,
last gen games coming out now on the next gen consoles. That's not what people need.
They
right
either
now.
need to leave it alone and just be like, sorry, it's just not going to be on this. You have the console, go ahead and just switch consoles and play it. That's what we had to do when we were younger.
Right.
Or
and
just a port fee, because I know it's probably cost something to port, but just a low port fee. There would be so many more people to do it.
Yeah.
Than not. It would just be better. I don't know.
Yeah, if it wasn't full price for the game you
Yeah.
have already.
Well, and I wouldn't have a problem with it if, like, okay, so Metal Gear Solid HD Collection and, like, Devil May Cry HD, I didn't have a problem with those, because those were games that came out, like, almost 10 years ago.
Those are older games.
So you're introducing that to a new audience. With this, Borderlands and The Last of Us came out a couple years ago. Anybody who was playing games now was probably playing games when those came out. I mean,
right.
You're not introducing it to a new audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's just like it's something that really doesn't need to happen unless they do what GTA did and they actually make it a worthy experience to get the game again and play it again. And I don't own any of the next gen consoles, but I own GTA for my 360, and I definitely want to get GTA again. For the new experiences, and I'm definitely going to get Majora's Mask, and I own the new Ocarina on my 3DS, so I mean, it's just like a cash out, I think, what people are looking for.
It's like early access. It can be done right, but it can also be abused very easily.
Right. They can just keep re-releasing the same games that people have played over and over and over. But definitely not something that needs to take the trend,
Yeah.
We've been going for a while, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Something that happened recently, I think today's the last day, actually. PAX South has been occurring. Today is the last day. This weekend, PAX South happened. It's the first PAX South ever to happen, which is interesting because there's already a PAX East and a PAX Prime, which are in two different parts of the day. Or year, excuse me.
There's like another PAX too.
Oh, there's a PAX Australia.
Yes.
And on top of PAX, there's E3 in June. The Rooster Teeth Expo is actually pretty big now. RTX that used to happen in July. This year's in August. And on top of that, there's Gamescom. There's so many other conventions. And so it doesn't really make sense. And it's in San Antonio of all places, in Texas. The same place RTX takes place in Austin, but right next door. And while conventions aren't a bad thing, we don't need. It's kind of like takes away from all the other conventions. My feeling on it, because when I was young, I always watched E3. E3 was something to pay attention to because they had announcements and stuff like that. And then PAX sort of became that place to release stuff, and then the VGAs were a place to release stuff. So for me, it's a lot to keep track of.
Well, I think
guess.
with E3, it's more exclusive. It's more the developers. It's more what they do with the game. PAX is more interactive with its audience, so you can go and play demos. You can go and talk to the people. You don't have to be someone that knows someone. You don't have to be, someone exclusive. E3's gotten a little tight with their stuff.
E3 is pretty much useless at this point because like they do so much pre-show stuff where any of the big news that's coming out during E3 is already going to have been seen behind closed doors by the big journalists. So there's really no point to going to E3 unless you really want to stand in line for 12 hours to play a game for.
Yeah. So.
And I think what PAX is trying to do is allow everybody to be there. Like, I can't go all the way to LA to go to PAX Prime or wherever it is. I'm actually kind of excited there's a PAX East because I live in the East. I can get there, if I really wanted to go, I could be there. And I think PAX South was kind of the same way. It's like, hey, we don't want to drive 18 hours in either direction. Do this.
They want more people to have that experience.
Yeah, which is both
that.
good and I agree they're kind of stretching themselves a little thin. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, if it works well, if more people can go, if the prices are right, it actually could benefit them in the end.
Yeah, and another part of it is that PAX is more of a social thing than E3 is. E3 is very much a press event. Whereas, like, at PAX, they have LAN parties and all kinds of stuff like that.
And panels, stuff like that.
So it's much more of a social event than E3 is.
So if we didn't get a chance to go to PAX South, but if you guys went to PAX and want to share some stories, some people you met, stuff like that, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I've been to PAX East, and PAX is not something I want to go to again. PAX East especially is humongous. Like, there's so many people and so many different like stuff.
Yeah, I like the tiny ones. I go to the tiny conventions.
I used to go. I go to RTX every year. I went the first 3 years. 2015 will be RTX's fifth year. I'm a huge Rooster Teeth fan, so I went to the first few RTXs, and they weren't big at all. Last year was supposed to be really big. But I didn't go last year. Last year I went to PAX instead, and it's just like huge. It's massive, and so it can be pretty daunting.
It is. It's crowded. I don't do well with crowds, so I don't.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Plus, like from a like journalism perspective, I can probably do my job easier from home than I can from PAX because I can just see what other people are writing and get it out instead of having to run my ass around the event floor and wait in line. And I can guarantee you that I can do my job better from home than I could being at the.
There's a lot of waiting. Event. There's definitely a lot of waiting at conventions.
Mm-hmm. It's like Disney World without the rides.
Except you get to wait 12 hours to play a game that may or may not work. That the developers are going to stand over your shoulder and tell you how great it is.
Yeah.
I was at what was it? I was talking shit on some game at a convention, and the like executive producer walks up behind me, and I didn't notice him when I was just standing there talking shit about it. I don't remember what game it was. That was funny as hell, though.
Yeah, I've done that before. I was last year at PAX. I don't remember what game it was, but I kept finding like bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this supposed to happen? To like the guy that's like running the demo area. I was like. And he was like, no, that's not supposed to happen. I don't know what you did. And I think I just broke the game.
I feel bad for developers at those conventions, man, because like you're playing early builds of it, and a lot of people who are at those conventions don't really understand that.
Yeah, they'll
they see the game glitch or break or something. They're like, oh, this game's shit. Well, you're playing like the earliest existing version of that game, and that's a tremendous amount of pressure to be under, especially for these smaller developers.
And then there's people like me that just try to bug it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to find everything that's wrong with it.
Yep.
But definitely interesting to see what PAX can bring to the convention scene after today. There's a few decent announcements. I think probably the biggest announcement was from Borderlands. They announced today that there's a big DLC for pre-sequel. Nothing like
Lady Hemlock.
Yeah, you play as Lady Hammerlock. It's nothing like huge, like whoa,
Yeah.
Hey, it's a big deal.
Did you guys see James Cameron's list of his 5 favorite games of last year?
What was it?
I don't
didn't see
even
it.
remember. I just
I'm
thought it was
looking it up.
funny that James Cameron did that. I think it was like, I don't know. He did. It was a bad list. I'm just gonna say it, but it's funny. Like I
And
think
for
Assassin's
any-
Creed Unity was his number one. So
Ooh.
not a good list, but I mean it's just funny that James Cameron gave out his list of his 5 favorite games of the year. It shows how mainstream games have gotten. Which is
Yeah,
both
it's
a
they're
good
they're
and a bad
everywhere.
thing.
They're everywhere.
And a new big announcement for not single player game, the MMO Guild Wars 2 is coming out with their first actual expansion. You get,
That's cool.
there's a new race, so I'm personally excited about that. I actually quit the game for a while because the expansions were not happening. There's a lot of fixes. There's new development, so it's going to be pretty interesting. It's all free, I believe. Pretty sure.
Ooh, free expansions.
I-
Oh yeah, because in the game free, like Guild Wars
The
is free
game is
itself.
free to play. You buy the game itself, and then it's free to play. They do, instead
I
of
see.
expansions like they did in Guild Wars 1, where you had, prophecies, then Nightfall, or whatever the other one is, Nightfall. They do live in stories, so they're basically releasing information and new stories every week or 2 weeks. And so I didn't like how they did that. I wish they would have spent more time. That's where like all the writing kind of went to crap, and I lost interest. But this is the first actual expansion, so they did release that information this weekend at PAX.
That's good.
So
It's always a lot of people don't like MMOs. And a lot of people do. It's like MMOs has a very niche crowd, which is always good. I always love it when MMOs do well. So many MMOs have just like fallen flat.
oh yeah, like let's see, was it Elder Scrolls is coming on to free to
God.
play because they didn't do so well.
God, Elder Scrolls.
I did one of my first. One of
I
my
don't think that
first
surprised
reviews
anybody.
ever was how awful that game started out. Now, apparently, they've gotten a lot better. I got so much crap for that. And I'm like, look, and the guy that was arguing with me vividly was comparing it to Final Fantasy Online. I'm like, look, you can't. I'm sorry, if you're having to compare Elder Scrolls to Final Fantasy, then
I was so hyped for that game. I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan.
Hey, you guys want to know another game I don't really like?
Is Elder Scrolls?
Elder Scrolls.
Are you kidding me? This is okay. Now we're gonna get into it.
okay. Now
Is it like
we're
all
gonna have
Elder
to
Scrolls?
stop.
Have you played
I
Fallout?
like Daggerfall. Daggerfall's fantastic.
Daggerfall's freaking 20 years old.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
It's all
I
like
don't like 4 or 5 though.
you like 4?
No, 4 is
Have you played
terrible.
Morrowind though?
Yeah,
Have you at least played Morrowind?
It's
Morrowind's
alright. It's
probably
got
the
some
best one.
issues.
I mean, yeah, it's the old game.
Yeah.
That's what they need. They need to re-release Morrowind, remastered. That's what I'd pay all the monies for that one.
I'd play that. That'd be cool.
But
But
you
they
didn't like
should remaster
Skyrim?
Daggerfall instead. No, I hate Skyrim with a fire.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright,
Oh, Reagan,
alright.
you already
Like,
got
what
flack
about it,
from the
Oh,
Mad
I
Monarch.
know. People
You've-
are gonna show up at my house with pitchforks after this.
You've got flack. I'm doing another podcast about 30 minutes with the Mad Monarch on the RPG that I dissed, and he
Yeah.
called you out, sir, about your
called me out?
comment about the Nintendo being a third party.
Oh, what was his opinion on that?
I tagged you in Twitter.
Uh-huh.
He was like, "Who's the guy that was talking about Nintendo being a third party?" I was like, "Oh, I believe that was Reagan." He's like, "You, sir, are wrong.
Alright.
You're flat out wrong." So
Come at me. Put my Twitter in the description. Come at me, bruh. we can argue this out. Actually, that might be a bad idea. I'm gonna get so many messages.
We have to
do
talk.
it.
We can't. We have to talk. We have to talk about this, Reagan.
Okay, what do we have to talk about?
You played Skyrim. Yes.
Oh yeah, I played Skyrim for I think 40 hours on 360 and like 10 on PC.
Okay. What's the problem?
The best way I have to describe it, I talked about this with a friend of mine, is Skyrim is a game with the width of the ocean and the depth of a puddle. I think that's
Right.
the best way to describe it. Like, there's so much content,
I can
But-
respect that.
there's no mechanical depth. Like, I like games that have a lot of like interlocking mechanics, and like Dark Souls, for instance.
Oh
Like
God.
that's the pinnacle for me. Dark Souls is my favorite game of all time. So like,
So you're just masochistic then.
Yeah.
no, I just like
that's what I'm
games
getting
with
from this.
mechanical depth. But like, if you look at Dark Souls, there's all these different interacting mechanics that you have to learn and stuff like that. And then Skyrim just doesn't have that.
See, that's overwhelming to me. If there's too many things I have to do, I get overwhelmed and I end up really bad at the game. Like I can't.
but
be-
Skyrim
I'm the
can
kind
take
of
the cake
person-
with that though.
I'm the kind of
'Cause, like-
person that the day XCOM launched, my first file that I started was Hardcore Iron Man. So
God.
that's just what I do.
I haven't beat Skyrim either. I'm really. I'm lazy with the game. I'm lazy with it. I'm not bad at it. I'm just really lazy. I like to do everything, and to do that, you
Yeah.
have to not
I'm
have
currently in the middle of my actually I've been taking a break, but I'm currently in the middle of my first ever modded run of playthrough of Skyrim, with at least over 100 mods.
I will
I
say the
wanna do that
modding
some-
community for Skyrim is pretty sweet.
The modded
It's-
community for everything is pretty
That's
outstanding.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Like I love the modded communities.
People need to take
Yeah.
some hints from that, like.
Definitely.
But I mean, I guess to each his own with whatever. But I mean, you can't not like Skyrim.
You're just
That-
not
that's
allowed,
just
Reagan.
law now.
Anyway, let's
That's
just
where he draws the line.
let's go back to where it began with the horribleness that was Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh god.
Something I was super pumped for, and I actually got to play the beta a good bit, and I was like, well, this isn't what I expected, but I mean, it's not too bad.
Yeah, my theory was, oh, it's beta. They'll get better. I think they got worse.
Well, not moreover, and like they said it was going to be like it's exactly like Elder Scrolls, but with a crap ton of people, and it wasn't. They said the classes you can play whatever weapon you want and stuff like that, and you could. I was a mage and I used a sword and a bow and stuff, but there is restrictions. I way back I wrote about how there are classes and there are skills specific to those classes, but then there's skills for like armor, weapons, like usual, like you'd see in Elder Scrolls games, and everybody has those. So it's more like the classes add skills than take away.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like once the game launched, then there was a big like imbalance between characters because of the skills.
There was, and it's like your party. I don't want to get too much into this because I can just rant about it all day. The party system is awful as well. They can,
Really?
they can leave you and do their own thing, get higher, and you're just left behind, and you're just sitting there like, I wasn't ready. And they can, you're still in party, but they can go finish the quest and stuff, and you're still trying to struggle with the skeleton that they decided not to fight. And
I remember when it launched, there was a pretty big issue where people figured out how to duplicate items, and it broke the economy.
Yep.
And so I was like, well,
Well, you could do that with almost any Elder Scrolls game, though. They never caught on to that. The developers never caught on to the fact that you just duplicate stuff from the game.
Yeah, it's Bethesda. That's the kind of Bethesda policy is.
they like their
release it
glitches.
Well, that's the thing.
fix it later.
I did so much research too. They gave the MMO development to someone whose MMO background is terrible, or their gaming background is terrible. I did this statistics. I was like, hey, gamers, look at all of these lists of games. Have you heard of any of them? And they're like, I've heard maybe one or two, and they're all by the same person. They don't have a good reputation. Why they gave it to this person is beyond me.
There's a fascinating. Do you guys watch GDC talks at all? I love GDC talks. So it's basically just like hour or 2 hour long lectures from game developers about different subjects. And there's a fascinating one about the creation of Hellgate London and how it just absolutely tanked and what went wrong and what they learned from it. It's fascinating. You should really check it out.
Cool. I'll link it in the
Whatever
description.
sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it seems like Elder Scrolls is free to play. I'm probably going to give it a
Going
shot
to
if it's
be.
free to play. Or going to be.
Yeah, I have the game. Might
Not
as well
yet.
try it again.
Yeah, I've always wanted it, but I've never financially, able to keep up with subscriptions.
We should
So-
we should start off our next podcast with everybody's top 5 favorite games. I feel
think
like
so?
that could be interesting. Yeah.
Especially
feel like people
always
might
been-
wanna know.
I've always been bad at favorite stuff.
Really?
Me too.
I like everything.
I could probably rattle off my 5 favorites. Dark Souls.
I can probably do that.
Shadow of the Colossus, Metal Gear Solid 3, Resident Evil 4, and...
You didn't like Resident Evil 2 over 4?
No.
4 was amazing. Are you
I
kidding me?
love both, but I prefer 4.
4 was the one I played.
And-
I actually played.
Silent Hill 2. There we go. Those are my 5 favorites.
Oh my god, I love Silent Hill 2.
Notice
it's
almost
the best
all of
one
them are on
ever.
the PS2. Yes, it
We
is.
can-
It actually wasn't
we
supposed
can-
to be a Silent Hill game.
We can do that now. We can just do. You just listed your favorites. I'll come up. I don't know if in no particular order I can name a lot of my favorite
mine isn't really
games.
in an order, by the way. Those are just my favorites.
So in no order, I can just sort of call them out, and it's weird for me because my favorites are based off not the game being good, but me having a good experience with the game.
Right,
I
your
guess.
personal favorites, yeah.
So definitely Sonic Adventure 2. I used to be a huge Sonic. I mean, I guess I am still a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan.
You know what other games I don't like?
You don't like the Sonic games? Have
Don't
you played?
talk to me anymore.
No, I'm of the opinion that there's never been a good Sonic game.
Oh, that's
I
so
think it's-
wrong.
I think it's all
Have you even
marketing.
played the
Yeah,
Sonic
actually.
Adventure
Oh,
games?
actually, I've been playing Sonic Generations on PC. I like that one. So
That one's all right. That one did a good job.
Yeah.
Because
continue.
But Sonic Adventure 2 was really good for me because that was one of my big GameCube games that like changed my life. The Star Wars Battlefield franchise. I mean,
Yep.
nobody just. Do you not like Star Wars
Oh
Battlefield?
hell no! I love Star Wars Battlefront.
I was about to say, there's gonna be
I was about to
bloodshed.
lose it. I was
I
about to walk out of the room.
love that game. It's fantastic.
And so the first one I had a PC, the second one I had on my PlayStation, and those are fantastic. And I absolutely cannot wait for DICE's Star Wars Battlefield.
Agreed.
What else? It's weird because the first games I've ever played were Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot has got to be like one of the best.
It's
The
really
third
good.
one's my favorite.
They're really good. And I gotta say I like Call of Duty 4 a lot because that was my first 360 game.
Yeah, Call of Duty.
That was my first multiplayer game actually.
That's what.
Online
Whenever
multiplayer.
anyone hates on Call of Duty and is like, "Oh, it's not good because it's popular," if you haven't played Call of Duty 4, like actually like sat down and played it and not
Yeah.
tried to hate it, like you got to do that.
Call of Duty 4 is really good. I mean,
It's fantastic.
Modern Warfare 2 is pretty good too.
Yep.
I
I just
used
like
to
the
be-
whole Call of Duty series, honestly.
I like Call of Duty. I haven't. See, it's for Call of Duty. For me,
Uh-huh.
I like Call of Duty a lot. Like my first Call of Duty was Call of Duty 2, and I
Yeah,
played
me
2.
too.
I didn't like 3 very much.
3 was awful.
4 was awesome, and
Yeah.
then that was my first online gaming experience. And I had my group of friends then, and we moved to MW 2.
Uh-huh.
We didn't mess with World at War, and we moved to MW 2, and MW 2 was really good. And then Black Ops was coming out, and I don't know if I'm just like magical, or if I know everything, but I called it. I was like, Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1. It doesn't look very good, and that game is not gonna that game does not look fun to me. And it came out, and I hated Black Ops. I hated
Really?
it. I hated it.
I liked it. I don't know.
I
Maybe
still hate
maybe I was just biased towards the setting, because
I
like
liked-
Cold War is like really cool to me.
I guess yeah. I liked the story was good, and like the whole twist that we had with the first Black Ops. I really enjoyed it. They did a good job, but I just didn't like it in like a gameplay setting. I knew
It
I
had
wouldn't
some
like it
weird
going
level
in.
design.
And so since that, I didn't really like it. I was really hyped about Modern Warfare 3, mostly because of the story. It was going to wrap up the Modern Warfare story.
Yep.
But that one kind of fell short gameplay-wise.
Yeah,
and
I
since
didn't-
then,
I wasn't a fan of
I've
that.
been turned off to it. I still need a Call of Duty fix every year.
Black Ops 2 is actually my favorite of the entire series, I gotta say.
Black Ops 2 I liked better than the first one, gameplay-wise. I've sort of been desensitized to the story. Like I was so
Yeah.
invested.
Actually,
in
Advanced
Modern
Warfare is
Warfare.
my favorite multiplayer. Advanced
Really?
Warfare is really good if you haven't played it yet.
I haven't played Advanced Warfare because I'm trying to get over my my itch because
Yeah.
it was the same with Black Ops 2 and Ghosts. It was just like I'm done with Call of Duty, and then they came out and I was like, oh well, I gotta get that. And play it.
Ghosts had really bad level design. Like the maps were way too big.
they were just not. Ghosts was just not like
no, it
Ghosts
was not
was
a good
bad.
game.
They were all focused on the dog.
But
Advanced
I-
Warfare was
yeah.
really good though.
But I played Ghost a good bit anyway, just to get my itch. I haven't played Advanced Warfare. It seems interesting. I feel like they really tried to change it up with
They did.
exosuits and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the increased mobility changes the multiplayer a lot more than you'd think it would. The other thing they added that makes a big difference is there's a perk called Gung Ho, where you can shoot while you're sprinting, and that really changes the way the multiplayer works.
But from Advanced Warfare, I'm interested to see where they go. Definitely this year. Now that they're doing the whole like 3 different developers, they have
Yeah.
Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and now Sledgehammer. So now the development cycles will be longer for each game.
Yeah, I'm interested
And-
to see what they do next for sure.
Yeah, I am too. I don't hate Call of Duty by any means.
Yeah.
I understand where the hate comes from.
Yeah.
Because people just want to hate something.
Right. I think a lot
But-
of it's just people hating the most popular thing because it's the most popular.
Right,
thing.
right. That's exactly what I think.
I just don't like it because it's war based. There's not a big, to my knowledge, it's not a big story arc. You're just
The 3 Modern Warfare games actually have a pretty solid story.
Black Ops 2, I think Black Ops 2 did a very good job of following up on the
Granted.
first Black Ops.
I don't have
story-wise.
anything that can play it, so like I don't have a PS3 or anything like that. So I've played it because my roommate had it, and I enjoyed what I did, but I just.
But apart from people hating it just because it's big, and people hating it because it's not really anything new every year, people seems to overlook that it's one of the few games that actually is working nowadays.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I think
And
it's
it's
more
actually
community
polished, it
based.
actually-
People don't like the community.
I
yeah,
can see that.
I hate the community. I will
can
say
see that. Definitely.
And the other thing is, people do that with Madden too. They're like, "Oh, it comes out every year. Oh, it's stupid because it comes out every." Well, here's the thing: the people they make that game for, that's not you. Don't buy it. It's
Yeah,
not
I
made
can
for you.
see
The
that.
people who do care about those games and really play them, they
Are
want
going
them
to buy
to come
them.
out every year because they care about the roster updates. They care about how the different players work. That's who the game's made for. It's not made for you, so stop complaining about it. That's my 2 cents.
That was his sentence.
But I guess rewinding, I'm trying to figure out what other my favorite games. I see. It's tough for me naming favorite games because a lot of the games that I would consider are my favorites aren't like anything like special. Like
I'm the same way.
GTA 4 was I loved it a lot and I played it a lot. That was my for me all my favorites are like my first of that kind of game.
I
Like,
think that's mine too.
the
Just
GTA
the
was
ones
probably
that made the most impact on you.
yeah, probably
That makes
apart
sense.
from Call of Duty, GTA was my first like M-rated game.
Oh, really?
GTA 4, and so it was a pretty big, pretty different experience for me.
I stole my dad's copy of Rainbow Six when I was like 9. I think that was my first. He was not happy.
I mean, I played shooters a lot, but GTA
Yeah.
was different altogether.
It was the first like legitimately like mature game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had that, and then like a lot of people don't realize that GTA they have really good stories. GTA 4 had a really good story, even though I guess it didn't really appeal to most people. It had a fantastic story, and it was a very long game. GTA 4 is so long.
Yeah, one of my dad's friends pissed me off when I was talking about that because I was talking about how GTA 4 has a really great story, and he's this old fart who probably thinks that games are just toys for kids. She was like, "Oh, good story. How many hookers are in this one?"
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be like,
Yeah,
"Dude,
that's how
Taxi
my mom
Driver
thought
is
about
one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's about a hooker, so don't even give me that shit."
And I'm trying to think of I'm having issues thinking of like classic games that are my favorite. You know, I don't want to name a Mario or Zelda because those are like the standard favorite games.
Those could still be your favorite.
Yeah, I guess so. But I haven't.
One of mine is. So.
Yeah,
we'll apart from that, definitely Mass Effect because I'm a huge BioWare fanboy. Mass Effect was just a fantastic everything.
Yeah, so Shauna, if we need to wrap up, if you want to rattle yours off real quick, then we can get out
Yeah,
of here.
I was about to say we can wrap up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say is that Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is one of my ultimate favorites.
That's a good one. You played Link Between Worlds?
Yes.
It's fun. I love that one.
Oh yes. The Sega version of The Lion King, I don't even care. It was a great
That's a
game.
good
I can
one.
finish it in one day.
Nice.
But it's fantastic.
It's a pain in the ass, but it's fun.
It is, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember like fighting, like my sister and I. She's 8 years older than me, so there's this gaming difference. Like she can do it better than I, if she was a gamer. So we would both switch off, and she went to go eat dinner, and I was like, hold on, I'm at Scar, and back then you couldn't just save or like
Right.
turn off the game, so. I was trying to fling him off the thing, and back then they didn't have like a wiki for how to freaking do it.
Right.
So I spent like an hour more, and then all of a sudden I did it, and I flipped out, and I ran downstairs, and I was like, Sissy, I did it! And I don't know how old I was, and she was like, no, you didn't. I was like, the credits are scrolling right now. Go up there, and it'll tell you I did it. By the time she got up there, it had reset. So
went
she
back
never
to the menu.
believed me. And then Borderlands 2, I have to say, between the the humor, the story, and the fact that, don't judge me, it is my first FPS. That has to be one of my favorites. I was really afraid of FPSs. I don't like the fact that I can't see behind me. So the fact that that is a game that's more humorous than scary, I really do love.
Do you play with like a really wide field of view on PC?
Not anymore, but I did.
I get motion sick if it's like 90 or below. So.
Yeah, my roommate does too. He can't play that game.
That's funny.
Yep.
Let's see, and Legend of Dragoon is my all-time favorite RPG.
Oh yeah,
that's a really good one.
All-time favorite. I know, like Final Fantasy, of course, like 7 and 8 are like tied for my favorite, but Legend of Dragoon for me. Well, 8 was my first Final Fantasy, other than
okay, that makes
tactics.
Sense. I like 7. 9's probably my favorite. 9
oh God, I forgot about 9. No, I don't know.
Yeah. 9
yeah, 7, 8, and 9 were just a stream of really good Final Fantasies for me. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Well, we can talk more about our favorites next time, definitely. Because I can think about it next time. Because I love games. So
yeah, that's why I was like, I've played so many.
Yeah, there's so many games to play that I liked. But to wrap up, to recap, sort of what has happened at Only SP recently, we did have, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I streamed Stranded Deep.
We did Below too.
Yeah, there's Below. Stranded Deep the stream will be in the link. I might end up putting that on the channel anyway. So look out for that. We had 2 pretty good, most anticipated article and video come out: Batman Arkham Knight and Below. So be sure to check those out if you haven't. Link in the description with the articles and all that. A bunch of first impressions, just a bunch of stuff. Just click on the channel.
It's been a really good week for us, I think.
It's been a really good week and a really good weekend.
Yeah, also, you can put my Twitter in the description so people can come yell at me about how my opinions are wrong.
Definitely gonna do that.
I've already got some. That's fine.
So if you wanna talk to us specifically, our Twitters will be in the description. Be sure to check out our site onlysp.com because it's been a pretty good weekend for us. Pretty good week in general for only.
We did hit our goal of 100,000 views.
Yep. We're doing really good on the site. Definitely only getting better. And next week's most anticipated, so you can be even more anticipated. Anticipate them more. What? Next week you'll be seeing Halo 5 Guardians and Get Even. So be sure to keep an eye out for those. So I'm Justin. With me are Shauna and Reagan. And it's been a podcast.
Yep.
That's a wrap. All right. Bye.
Bye.